So thank you again for taking the trip and coming on the show. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I'm super happy to be here. So, and you have been helpful too, just with, with things related to Liam. I don't think anybody could help me prepare in any other way better than someone who gets it. So
that's
bring nice.
Any guests that come on, bring your kids. Yeah. I'll take care of them as well.
Yeah. And we'll, he'll set you up and be in the.
We'll make the interview happen one way or another.
Heck yeah. They'll be living their best life. No worries. Yeah. I love it.
So you're from Ohio.
I am. Yes.
What was it like growing up in Ohio?
Well, it's Ohio. It was fine. I guess, as a kid, my parents were, together. We lived in Westerville, Ohio, which is kind of like one of the nicer areas, little suburbs. It's probably the closest like suburb to Ohio that that's nice, or to Columbus rather. Mm-hmm. They divorced, and then we moved, us kids and my mom moved to Akron. Most of the parts we were in were rougher there. My high school, not so much, junior high and high school, but we were right next door to like any direction you went, 2 minutes. It was not the best area. And then came back to Columbus after that. But I think my memory is pretty foggy from a lot of things from childhood, just because I think, not to do all the negative, but like trauma, all the things that, and it's things that we become aware of if we're lucky. And I think had some great memories as a kid that were like parents were together, birthday parties, all that. And it really quickly went to just everything was rough growing up in Ohio because I was rough. You know what I mean? Like I didn't really have much of a childhood, I guess I would say. So growing up kind of looked like an overnight thing, or at least felt as though it was, in just active addiction. I was, briefly we've touched on, and we'll, I'm sure, touch on more, but I started doing drugs at probably 12. So I was off to the races pretty quick. So there wasn't much growing up that I was able to experience prior to that.
This show is sponsored by Open Recovery Addiction Help. Whether you're newly sober, in long-term sobriety, or even maybe looking to make a change in your life, Open Recovery offers 24/7 support right from your phone. It's anonymous and packed with tools to help you stay connected, stay accountable, and build the life you deserve. Download the Open Recovery Addiction Help app today and take the next step in your recovery journey. What were you doing drug-wise at 12?
It started just weed, marijuana, and everybody was smoking, and I was a really good student. And so at first I was like hiding it first it was cigarettes. I was stealing from mom, and, I was like, oh, this is cool. Like I'm sneaking them, and no, I was a risk taker. I was just that person. And I wanted to be liked, and I wanted to fit in. And so there was other kids, and I wasn't like I want to be like the popular girls. No, I didn't really look at it like that. I'm a lover. I loved everybody. I just wanted, I wanted everyone to like me, and I wanted everyone to like everyone. It's like Will Ferrell in that, like, he's like, everybody love everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
That was me always. Mm-hmm. So smoking weed and then drinking came with that. When I was like, I dabbled with pills here and there at 12 and 13. And then 14, I tried meth for the first time. And that was, And from 14 on, I mean, hard drugs, a lot of hard drugs from 14 on. And so it kind of all began there. And it's weird because like the separation between when I went to the hard drugs, like from when I was smoking weed and doing things with friends, still kind of high school was kind of part of that memory. And then it's almost like it switches to a whole new scene in my brain when I think about it, because now it's hard drugs, a crowd that's much older than me for the most part that I'm around, and no more reality. Like I was removed from reality at that point on.
How does one, you kind of answered it a little bit, you said a much older crowd, but how does one go from smoking weed, assuming you're drinking cigarettes, to meth at 14? Because that's a hard introduction at that age.
Yeah, it is. I don't have a great answer to that other than, the things that we want when we're kids. We want to be liked. We want to experience different things and be a part of, I think. And for me, we had moved at like I said, I was 12 when we moved to Akron, and I was like the new girl. And so I also already had some insecurities in general as a young girl, but then they just multiplied when we moved because I didn't know anyone. I didn't know. And so very quickly, I'm like, well, I'm going to do, if I like a person, they become my friend. And this isn't probably my thinking then, but reflecting back, I think I just was like, I'll do whatever, And so some of the friends that I had would drink on the weekends, and some of their parents were okay with it. Some weren't, like, do it at the house if you're safe, this and that. And then that led to, like, we're going to college parties while we're 12 and 13. We looked older than we should have looked and all that, which is terrifying. Especially as a mom now, I'm like, my God. Yeah, we looked older and it wasn't hard for us to get in this. But back then, I mean, there was bars that we could get into without an ID or using a fake ID, no question. And so we would be 13 in these bars with 25 and to 30-year-old men and women,
just getting after it
with
everyone
and whatever they were doing. And that is how it happened for me. So I was in a bar that I was underage at this bar, and a friend of mine, a guy that I had liked at the time, I was kind of like, had a crush on, I guess you would say. But he was older. He was probably 8 years older than I was at the time, which everything that I'm going to say in this full transparency will probably be debatably legal. So the things that I discussed, but 8 years older than me. And and he had it on him. And
he just whipped out meth.
Not there at the bar. So we all like went to drink at someone's house afterwards, and he had it, and I liked him. And so I'm like, I'm going to try it. And it was that simple. It was that quick of a decision. I probably at the time thought to myself, like, this can't be good. But like, I think, I don't think there was much I wouldn't have done just to like stay. A lot of it was just being removed from my own reality. I had feelings about my parents' divorce. I had feelings about myself and my insecurities. I wanted anything that would take me out of myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
After the bar, you guys go back to someone's house and he just pulls meth out. You try it for the first time. Do you remember the high?
Yeah. Yes.
What did it feel like?
It felt like the whole world just went on, like, fast forward times 100. Like, it was like the highest fast forward you could go. Like, that's what it felt like. I was like, I can conquer everything. It also probably felt like a little scary, but like, yeah, I was outside of myself. So I was like, this is good. That was subconsciously, that's what I wanted, all the time. It's like with weed, when we would smoke, that was kind of, I can remember that being the thing, is that we would laugh a bunch. We'd laugh. We'd like make up, raps and just do all these stupid, silly things. And so it still was no longer this like, this reality that I didn't see as like comfortable at the time. It was this like new reality where it was like, everything's funny, or in this case, everything's fast and different. And, but I did very quickly learn with meth, I didn't, so heroin came along like pretty quick. So within a year of that, so I was doing meth. I was somehow skating by without my mom seeing that, like coming home. Now, I was still going to school at this time.
Your meth use went undetected with your mom, but then roughly a year later, you're 15 years old. You pick up heroin. Does she catch you doing heroin?
So very briefly, just with what my mom was going through, and I'll keep it kind of minimal with her, but she was going through a rough time. So a 2-year period where she was not herself, very isolated, very unhappy, which in turn, I was kind of like, I'm like 15 doing the things I'm doing. It's already not in the right place, but trying to play investigator, figure out what's wrong with her. I'm the oldest and my brother and sister are younger. And so we were distant then. My mom and I became distant. And so then I had even more reason in my mind to like, I want to be gone. I don't even want to be home, like around. I don't want to be around her. She was like not happy. She was angry a lot. And so I didn't even want to be home. I didn't want my friends over to see it. Like, and my house was like the place to be at first. Like we'd be, after a while when we were smoking, she would know we smoked weed. She'd say, go in the basement. Don't let your brother and sister see it. Now looking, like my mom is a wonderful human. We're close today, but she did the best that she could with what, I mean, I was going to do what I did either way. And I think she knew that. She was a nurse in the ER at the time. Like, there really wasn't much that she could do. And I would have done what I did. So
how did you get into heroin?
Yeah. So another guy, right?
Another guy that you attracted. Oh my God, these men, Alyx.
Man. I blame the men. Okay. I blame the men. No, I don't blame the men. I blame me. No man can force anybody's, there's ways, but,
well, when you're that young, it's understandable.
It's you're influenced way easier. Right. And I certainly was, but I was running from like home and what home looked like and felt like to me. And yeah, so I met another guy, and this person was, he was almost 30. So I was 15. And he lived in a trailer park or by himself, and he did drugs all day. And so one day I was running around with somebody's friend that I met through somebody doing meth. You just run around with whoever when drugs are involved. And I was doing a lot of that. And one day one of the people I was with brought me there to his trailer, and I wound up there somehow, and I met him, and I didn't want to keep running around with this other person. I just was like sick of running around. And I'm like, this guy, I'm like, I'm just going to try and stay here. There was drugs there. I'm like, I can just chill out. I was attracted to him. So, and he was really nice, like very like warm and welcoming to me, which like didn't feel threatening. And I'm like, okay. So I stayed and I tried heroin. He's like, and how it came about is really just, he went in the back room to like do it. And I like was very nosy. Like I didn't give no shits back then. And I walked back there. I'm like, what's that? And I wouldn't even have said the word heroin back then. I don't even know that I knew, like I had maybe heard of it or something, but it was such a dark word to even like say, but then there it was in the flesh. And for whatever reason, probably because I had been living in the way I had, it didn't seem as dark to me. And I was like, I want to try it. He's like, you shouldn't do this. You're going to regret it. And I'm like, okay, whatever, like save the spiel. And I just did it. Now, mind you, I shot it up with a needle. So the first time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here I am. Here I am with a man that I don't know, 30 years old, damn near, who's about to show me how to shoot up heroin. And he did his, and then I did mine. And my whole life changed from that day forward. Nothing would be the same ever again. Nothing would even remotely be the same. I remember I went outside in that trailer park. It was like probably 10, 11 at night. It's like street lights on. I was out all the time, mind you. At this point, I don't know how. Somehow I graduated high school. I won't go too much into that, but somehow I did graduate. By the skin of my teeth. Like I don't know how. I had like terrible grades in high school. Two of my senior year classes I had to do summer school for. Like I think they just passed me. I think they were just like over it. All my teachers knew I was doing drugs. It was yeah. So, but either way, I barely went to school the last like my junior and senior year. But I go outside in this trailer park. I just did my first shot of heroin, and I was like, I felt like I was removed completely from the world, just looking at it as an outside entity. Like I just remember looking like everything's quiet. My mind's quiet. My body's quiet. My feelings are quiet. Like I didn't have to experience anything. It was just like, I was just there, and I liked that feeling. And then I'm also diagnosed ADHD and have been since I was like 10. So my brain's already like, my mind just moves fast anyway. So I think it quieted that down a lot. And I was like, this is cool. Like it's really quiet. Shortly after I got sick, I threw up everywhere, all over outside, all over inside his trailer. And then like a true drug addict, I did another shot after I was done throwing up, and I just, when I say that I knew, it's interesting because I knew when I went to go do the second shot, I knew it was almost like I had this wisdom, unfortunate way to gain it, but I had this wisdom kind of come about me where it was like, I knew what all of this would bring. Not wisdom, maybe it's foresight, but my brain was telling me like, you're going to screw up your whole life. Like this is all going to come fucking unraveling for you. And I still did it.
So all right. So you take this first shot, you go in for the second shot, and what that comes along with. Yeah. But you still do it anyways.
Yeah. Do it anyways. And I thought to myself, I remember thinking, this is going to ruin your life. But what was louder was the overwhelming feeling of peace that I had. And I just thought, I don't have to feel. So that was more important to me than any thoughts of what I could, do to destroy my life at the time. I didn't feel like I had much of a life to destroy at the time. I was like, well, too kind of naive to understand what would come from it. Truly, like all of the opportunities I could miss because, I thought I already felt grown, right? Like I felt grown. I'd been hanging out with older people for a long time. I had to grow up quick, be like big sister and like help through all the kind of stuff with the family. And so, yeah, I just adopted this mindset that I just knew everything real young. And it did not serve me well, So that's where I started.
How long did you stay with the 30-year-old for?
I was with him almost, so I wasn't technically, I had my like off and ons. I still went home a few more times, but not many after this. So I was turning 16 actually, whenever I did heroin for the first time and then met him. So it was like maybe a month from that. So but from the time I was like 16 and a half, probably like 6 months later, I fully moved into his trailer, like stopped. My mom actually, let's backtrack. She found needles and spoons in her house. And she called the cops and I ran. And I came back to like get clothes or something. She said, you need to get out. You need to leave, which I don't blame her. I don't think she knew what to do. So I did. And I was like, well, fine, I'm leaving anyways. And I left and I went to his house and I moved in with him. And like I said, I still barely know how I got through school. I did. I would have graduated early had I not done any drugs and whatever. I was on track to graduate at like 17. So I would have graduated early and then I just did drugs the rest of the time and somehow skated through. But moved in with him and I was with him until I think like shortly after I turned 18 was the first time that I went to jail 2 days after I turned 18.
What happened?
I showed up at my mom's. I wanted to take my brother and sister for ice cream. I don't know whose car I had. Might have had my first car still. I don't remember. There's a lot of cars I had and then didn't have. But I showed up at my mom's. I'm like, I'm taking them for ice cream high. And I'm super high. And she's like, you're not going anywhere with them. I'm like, yes, I am. And I wanted to do that. And so she's like, okay, well, go downstairs and like help with the dishwasher first or something, like do something in the kitchen. So little did I know she was calling the cops while I was doing that. Then, and she'd probably say like, you're crazy. I didn't do that, but it's okay. I would laugh about it with her today. But she like threw silverware on the ground and said that I threw it at her, which it's fine. I needed to go to jail, but there was knives in that silverware. And so she told them like she felt threatened for her life. And I didn't throw them. Like I did not throw the silverware at her. Summit County Police, if you ever see this, I'm innocent. No. But no, she was scared for my life. So she did whatever she could do. And I don't blame her. I'd probably do the same for my kid today. You're going to jail. At least I know you're safe there. So I was in jail for 30 days at 18.
No one bailed you out?
No, heck no. My mom was like, I love you, honey. I don't know what to say. And I kept saying, it's your fault. You did this. She's like, Alyx, I'm not talking about this. I'm like, and she answered the jail calls like whatever, I blamed her.
Yeah.
I blamed her. It's your fault. That's where a lot of the blaming came to. I would just blame, I'm blaming life. And now you're just piling on my reasons that you can give me to blame you or blame anything but myself. I got out and started doing what I was doing again. And it wasn't too long before I randomly called my dad. And if you rewind back to like 13 and 14 years old, I maybe saw my dad every 2 weeks for like a little while till I started doing drugs. And then I was just gone. I didn't see him anymore after that. Cause they had like re-established a, connection, and he had something worked out with court where he could see us every other weekend and X, Y, and Z. But I just wasn't a part of that for growing up because I was doing my own thing. So I called him and I'm like, Dad, I'm doing heroin and I need help. And my dad was like, he was on vacation and he's like, Alyx, when I get home, you'll come down. I'll help you get into treatment. Like, okay. So he did. And I did. I went to treatment. I think I probably waited a few days when he said I'm home. I probably did my thing for a few days and then came. But
that's what we all do. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we do. Yeah. And I did. That was my first taste of treatment. I was 18. I I went to a facility that was actually ended up being my first facility I ever worked at, which is called Parkside. And because I was still, I think, on his insurance, so I could like use that to go, or his or my mom's. Went to treatment 30 days, and yeah, I got out. And now this is where it gets real foggy for me. So like from 18 to the end of my addiction, like the things that stand out are very traumatic things, very dark things, very, crazy stories, but I can't put a timeline to like, I've been to treatment more times I can count on my hands and toes combined, as well as jail. I have absolutely no idea how many times I've been to either. I know that by the time my addiction was, coming to its end, I had racked up 5 felonies that stuck out of like 8 I was charged with, and more misdemeanor. I don't know how many misdemeanors I sealed. My record sealed today. Thank God. Something really cool about healing. But yeah, no, I had racked up a lot of charges. So from that point that I went to treatment the first time, like I'd like to be able to be like, then this happened and then this happened, but I've got no idea. I think my kind of protective brain was really driving from that point forward. Yeah. It was just that, with trauma, we just shut down and we don't even realize what our mind is doing to protect us. But when you have so much of it that it becomes kind of like your the way you operate is just in this like trauma lens, then you're avoiding memories at that point.
You forget it.
Yeah.
So you go to treatment, you get out. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's not your sobriety date, so you Correct. Pick back up. Mm-hmm. What did the progression look like once you went to treatment, you get out, you relapse? What did the progression look like until you got sober with heroin?
Yeah. So, I left that. So I had left that guy. I left
Trailer Park Dude.
Yep, left him. Actually, when I got out of treatment, my dad actually had let me come to his house. It was the one time that through all of these many times that it was the first time, and he let me come home to his house. And I had never lived there, mind you. Like I lived there for a couple months until it was maybe 2 months, and I was on Suboxone. So if I can say that,
you can say whatever you want.
You can take anything you need to.
It's your experience.
Yeah. So
share it.
Yeah. So I was on Suboxone for a little bit, and that was not. I knew it wasn't going to work for me. I'm like, I'm selling it. I'm going to go get high. That's what I did.
Can you actually just tell us why it didn't work for you?
Sure.
Because a lot of people actually reach out to my channel on TikTok and ask about it, and people that are on it and push it. And I didn't have a great experience with it.
Yeah, no, it didn't work for me because it still kind of put me, and this is just my experience. It put me in this place where I still felt like I was using. And if I was going to use, I needed to really just be using and that was just for me. I will say I wasn't even ready to stop using. So that's what we'll first say. But I also tried Suboxone many times throughout trying to get sober. I tried to get sober a million times. And anytime I tried it, it didn't work. But part of me says I just wasn't ready to even try it. But I also know that even so, I was taking something every day. And then what my brain was telling me is like, I know what I want, and this is not it. It was just too hard for me to separate. The two.
Yeah.
I don't really have any much better way to say it. It just wouldn't have worked for me. You know what I mean? I'm an all or nothing kind of gal.
Yeah. So you're living at your dad's.
Living at my dad's on Suboxone, and I decide I'm not ready to do this. And it was the lifestyle. At this point, I liked the feeling, again, that quiet feeling of like, I can avoid life and I don't need to worry about responsibilities or feel anything. That's what I was after. So I wasn't ready to look at reality or look at who I was or look at my family's circumstances or look at any of it. And I was also had a lot of shame, and I wasn't ready to look at that either. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to sell this Suboxone, and so I was going to meetings, different types of recovery meetings, and I was meeting different people. And then I happened to meet another person that wanted to get high. And so I went and I was like, I'm going to go, like I found who I needed, like the next person, right? The next person that would, you have a series of like different chapters and using, and it's like, they were always just different groups of people and different things. And here was my next one. So met this guy, and he sold drugs, and met him through whatever person I had met at a place. Met this guy that sold drugs, and his girlfriend danced, and she was like a dancer at a strip club. And I didn't work naturally because I I had one job at McDonald's for like a week and got fired because I gave away free cookies. So outside of that, Mark's grocery store also was that was like when it was just weed and alcohol. But outside of that, I had never had jobs. So here I am, 18, 19, I think I was at this point, going on 19. No, I was 18, still just 18. And my dad kicked me out. He found out, you're using again. He actually brought me to this. I had been hanging out with this drug dealer guy that had the dancer girlfriend and kept lying to my dad, like, no, I'm not getting high. No, I'm not this and this. And so then he's like, well, he called sober living places without telling me and was like, one day I came home, he's like, you're going to this sober living. So I went there and they kicked me out the same night. I was getting high. And then I was homeless again. And so I called this drug dealer guy and I'm like, I want to come where you're at. So I very quickly saw what that looked like. And this girl made a lot of money dancing. And I'm like, that'd be nice because I could buy whatever I want, as much drugs as I want, and all the things. And so I started, and actually, I'm really bad. I might have to go back here and there, but I had attempted dancing for like a week prior to this time I'm about to tell you about in Akron before I came down, and I was underage. I was not even 18 yet, but they didn't know that. And so I had attempted it, and I saw the kind of what money people made there, but I had just kind of started doing the heroin, so I was like, it didn't last. I was just all over the place. So now fast forward, now I get kicked out of my dad's and then the sober living, and I'm with this guy who sells drugs and his dancer girlfriend, and I start dancing with her, and I'm like making a ton of money, and I'm just doing a bunch of drugs, and I'm staying at trap house to trap house wherever he goes, his house sometimes, but like then he would have these other apartments that like girls would be at and different people, and I was like really like involved in human trafficking and didn't even know it, is where I was. And shortly thereafter, each kind of chapter, there was a person that I would like either rip off or they would do me dirty in some type of way. And then I would run and I would go on to the next people or the next place, whether it was me doing something shitty or it was them. And one way or another, that chapter was ending and you're moving on to the next people, it's really an ugly, scary, dangerous lifestyle. So there's no telling what happens on any given day.
Yeah.
And I had already seen a lot that I didn't want to see, like, or I didn't ever expect to see, rather, like just women getting beat up. Like that wasn't anything new to see around me, or talking to women and then they'd have like sexual abuse experiences that were terrible. And it was just like, what? Like, and that hadn't been me yet at that point. So it was just like things that were starting to happen that were just ruthless. And it was like, this is my everyday life now. These are the kinds of people I'm around. So
what was one of the craziest things you saw out there?
Well, we'd have to define crazy, because there's all different levels of crazy. There's very dark and painful crazy. And I could share about that. And then there's also just crazy, like this is wild that this is happening kind of thing. So in my head, just because I'm a deep person, I go kind of to the painful. But, and can I be raw like on here? Can I be, okay. Cause it just is. So one of the craziest things that I had witnessed prior to like my own experiences in this kind of regard was I was in a trap house, somebody's trap house. I don't know whose. And I was with a group of women and this drug dealer who I thought like was my buddy, right? Because everybody was my buddy and like nobody would hurt me because I was invincible, I thought. And a woman she did something to piss him off, this drug dealer, and there was a kind of a group of his buddies there too. And she was raped in the room next door to me. And I'm sitting there. And these other women who, some of them lived in the house, some of them didn't. And I'm sitting there and I hear her screaming, yelling. And I asked one of the girls, like, what's going on? She's like, she pissed him off, the girl. And she didn't even, these girls, all of us are like 80 pounds soaking wet. We're strung out on dope. Some of us dance, some of us don't. At this point, I hadn't, so I did eventually graduate to where I started, really degrading myself for money. And I was turning tricks and doing all the things, whatever way you want to label it. I was doing those things to support my habit. And it was also one of those things I was like, well, I'm not doing that. Like I hear I'm dancing. I'm not doing that yet. So it's not that bad, but it didn't take long to get there. But yeah, no, that was one of the craziest things is I sat listening to that happening. Then he came out like with a smile on his face. Somebody else came out and like made a joke, and then we got drugs and like that was it. And I remember going out, I don't know where we were walking. Me and another girl were walking after we got whatever drugs we were getting. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, I can't talk about this. I shouldn't say anything about it. But like, I was feeling like this, like, I can't believe that. I can't believe what just happened. I hope the girl's okay. Hope she's okay, But it was things I say that to say there's like, that was the day in and day out after a certain point. It was always like, there was never a safe environment that I was in. Not one. Everywhere I was there, people had ulterior motives. They were out for themselves. I was out for myself, but there was no telling, if those of us that have a lot of people, especially in recovery, we have really good hearts, right? Especially like through all this healing and all these things. But like, even prior to drugs, I had a good heart, I'm a good person, empathetic. I love people. Yeah. So automatically I kind of place that character on other people that I meet. I'm like, they're going to be a good person. Like most people are good people. And it wasn't the case using like, and maybe some of them were, but a lot of them were really evil, really, really evil and dark. And who knows what they'd experienced to get them there. But it seems to be in a short time, that was the majority of who I was around. People that physically, sexually abused people, people that robbed people, people that had killed people. I mean, I was around people every day that it was always something really bad.
And they act like they're your friend.
Correct.
And that's where that confusion is. And it's like, it's a sick world we're living in.
Super sick.
And I'm glad you're talking about this because people need to know about what is going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like where your daughter or your sister or could potentially go.
It's so bad.
With drugs and alcohol.
It's so bad. It's so terrifying. I mean, it's heartbreaking and terrifying. There's no way. I mean, then these are just streets in Columbus. Like you got to think every day. I mean, I don't drive down most of these streets now. There's not really a reason to, but like some of them, they're minutes away from where we are every single day. Like for me, and it happens everywhere. It doesn't have to be Ohio, everywhere. But like these places close to our families or our neighbors or whoever, you never know what's happening. People will think it's just bad areas. It's not. I mean, there was people's houses I was taken to in the suburbs that were beautiful and nice and would have, I mean, I've physically seen women tied up in houses. I've just seen a lot of ugly. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. People do need to hear the severity of it and where it brings people, and also need to know that it's not like, you look at someone like you or I, especially today. And I mean, I have my days, but I clean up pretty nice. And you wouldn't think like that we've been or seen certain, been places or seen certain things. And it's like, that's not true. Like there's a lot of really ugly things that happen out there. I remember, I don't know. So I remember shortly after that is kind of when I went into selling my body for drugs. And that's where I will say that part of my using, because everything, like I said, it's kind of foggy. I could never do like a timeline of events. I wouldn't be able to do it to save my life. But there's things that stand out. And that chapter where I decided to do that for the first time, that stands out because something died in me, right? Like something died inside of me as a person, as a woman. And I remember that's where I used to be able to, prior to that, I was able to like justify and kind of convince myself that most of these people I was around were good. I was somehow able to be like, they wouldn't hurt me or, whatever the thoughts were, I would justify the circumstances. And then once I did that, I no longer could justify anything. It was like, no, they're bad and they're bad and they don't care about your well-being. And yeah, it got very dark very fast.
Can you take us through the last few months right before you end up ultimately getting clean and how you got clean?
Yeah. So after I had about, from that time on until I'm 31. I got clean at
24.
24. Yeah.
I've already done the math.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I'm not a mathematician, but anyways, so yeah. So between that time, most of that time I was homeless, I'll say, for one, homeless, place to place. Most of that time I was single. So without another person running around with me, it was just me. And most of that time I was doing a lot of really just, all of the things I just discussed. And through that time, I'm in the very last, I would say 2 years of my addiction. I had met someone who ended up I was in a relationship with him. And how that came to be is right before meeting him, I had, all of those like sexual abuse scenarios and things I had talked about. Something terrible happened to me. Absolutely terrible. Like it's in my nightmares. I still seek therapy for it today. It's
when you were a young girl?
Not when I was right before, I would say 3 years before I got clean.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, and it was to briefly say what happened. I was in a back alley in Columbus with somebody doing drugs, and I was raped. I was left for dead. I was stabbed, got a huge scar on my leg from it, like a pocket knife, all these things. And I remember it was a turning point for me because I sat on some random porch after that. And I thought, this is it. Like, this is my life. Like, I'm half clothed. I'm bleeding my face, my body. And I'm like, this is really my life. Like, and what did I do? I went and got high on it. I got high on top of it just to numb it. I didn't want to feel it. So at that point, I removed myself from the streets a lot. I was afraid. I was terrified of people at that point. Even though I was numbing it, some things you can't fully numb, and I couldn't. And so in my kind of reclusing from, being out there just feeling invincible, I met a guy again, and he used like I did, and I learned to just trust him, and we trauma bonded. We had a lot of pain and a lot of darkness, and we just clicked together, and we were at each other's sides till I got clean. So the last few months of it, we ended up getting this apartment, or whatever whatever townhouse thing. And we paid for it in meth. The guy that lived on the other side was like the landlord, and we just paid for it in meth. So we had our little happy home. I'm like, I'm doing great. Like I am, I got a house. There might not be flooring in all of it, but there's flooring in some of it. And at one point, maybe like 6 months before I went to jail, SWAT hit our house there. And so I was hiding in the attic. We had this like routine where he taught me how to get up in the attic in 6 seconds or less. He's like, it will take them 6 seconds. It was crazy. Meth does a lot of things.
Can you walk us through really quick before even hiding, why SWAT hit your house and what that day was like? Sure.
So the guy I was with, we did a lot of drugs, but he also sold a lot of drugs and was just really, really reckless with it. Just really like he was just reckless with it. Mm-hmm. And mind you, there was women. So I was always not a jealous person. We're doing drugs. So none of our relationship was healthy, but there was these women that he would I know he would be attracted to. And I'd get like mad and angry, and I'd be like, don't leave with her. Well, there was this one girl that I was like, definitely don't leave with her. Like, I think she's the cops. Well, she was the cops. We ended up finding out later, but she's working with them, whatever, like informant. And, basically all she did was like, she made a sale, and they didn't come. I don't know how the rest worked out really, but I know they didn't come to that. Like she had that on tape or whatever. And then when he came back home to the house, I was there, I was getting high. There wasn't a ton. Most of our stuff was up in the attic. So, or in the insulation. It's like a crawl space, not an attic. It's like, you wouldn't even think it's up there. So most of it was hidden, but there was like drug paraphernalia, a couple grams, maybe a couple ounces downstairs. And he came home, and then there was a couple more customers that came. And as soon as those customers were like leaving out is when we saw lights. Cameron is his name. He saw lights outside the window and just yelled like, they're here. Because he knew. We'd been worried about cops coming. We'd been sketched out all the time. We're always up for days. So even if they weren't coming, we were thinking they're coming. So we were ready if they were coming. Ready as we could be. And he's like, they're here. And so I'm like, what? He's like, they're here. And you hear like a couple car doors shutting, and I'm jumping. So you go above this toilet in this little bathroom that was barely finished. There was like no flooring, like I mentioned. And I jump on top of this toilet and pull myself up into the insulation and I'm closing the thing because I thought Cameron was going to come up, but he was nowhere. So I'm like, okay. So they come in, they got Cameron and they got whatever was in the house. And I'm hiding in this insulation for like hours. I'm like, oh my God, they never found me. Never found the stuff upstairs. He went to jail. And I think, so fast forward. So I left that house. Obviously I was not going to come back anywhere near there. I was terrified, whatever. And I ended up getting arrested later for something else. Like while he was in jail, I ended up getting arrested for something else, paraphernalia or something. He got out and then I got out. A lot of little stupid details here. He got out and then I eventually got out too. Well, when I got out, I found him and he was at this person's house. His name's Jay. Jay ended up being the person I lived with for the first year of my sobriety. He's with this guy named Jay at his house. And Jay's just like this man that lives alone that was like, would let Cameron come shower, eat, whatever there. And was a safe spot, was a safe place. And so I came there and we were staying there. Well, Jay, I had warrants out for my arrest at this point. I don't know where they came from. Honestly, that's that fogginess. I always had some warrant or another. I had warrants out for my arrest and Jay called the cops on me. I didn't know it till later and he told me he did. And I'm thank God that he did to this day because he saved my life really. But he called the cops because he had said like, you're not going to be shooting dope in my house. You're not going to be X, Y, and Z, this and this. And I was like, of course I won't. And then I did every day in the bathroom, you know? And Cameron did too. But so I think he saw something in me. He wanted me to get it, you know, he just did. And so he called the cops on me. I was in a pink reindeer onesie. Okay. It's like November or something. I don't know. In a pink reindeer onesie that I had just stolen from Walmart. And yeah. And we hear a knock at the door and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, it's the cops. Cameron's like, hide. Because I had warrants. He didn't. And I go in the bathroom. I'm like, don't tell him I'm here, Jay. And Jay's like, oh my God. Okay. You know, whatever. He knew the whole time. He knew they were there. So then next thing you know, he walks back with the cops, shows them I'm there. I'm like, what the? He's like, they knew you were here. I'm like, what? So I left and I went to jail. And that was the start of my journey getting clean.
He did for you what you couldn't do for yourself.
Yes, absolutely. He did.
So did you go away to treatment?
I didn't. No, the last and final time, my hoorah, it was just jail for me. So I was in jail until, well, actually I went to jail, not November, it was December. So my clean date's December 8th of 18. But I went to jail like several days prior and I had one of the COs in there, like they drug tested me. I had a PO already assigned to me because of the warrant. And I had them drug test me and my first day clean in there was the day that I had my clean date. So it was several days before the 8th. But so I was in jail until like February, I think maybe, or March.
A few months, yeah.
And I got out on drug court. Somehow convinced this. I mean, I've had so many previous charges. I don't know what made them decide to do it. My PO at the time, actually, and he's a friend of mine today. He's a buddy. We actually work together like in the field now. He'll send people to my treatment center and stuff. But I'll go speak for their drug court sometimes. Just a really good human. But he was like, you're going to prison. Like, stop trying to fight for something else. You're going to prison. Like, we've been doing this with you. Other counties have been doing this with you. And I'm just like, I'm not cut for jail. I'm not cut out for it. No, I don't want you to braid my hair. I don't want your ramen noodles. Like, I just don't want to be there. And I'm not, trust me, it's not even a judgy thing. It's just like,
nobody wants to be there.
Yeah. Well, you see a lot of people that really just make it after time and time. And even after so many times in jail, like, no, I was like, please get me out of, always talking to God as soon as I get to jail, like, please get me out of here. I will do anything. And I always felt that way too. Like, I wanted to get clean every other time too. I just didn't. I couldn't. I didn't know how. I honestly didn't think I was capable of it. This time I begged. The attorney happened to be the husband of the head of probation. My attorney was a public defender, and he fought for me. So I don't know. And I probably was manipulating when I reflect back. I didn't know I was, but I was, because like I've done this a million times. He's like, I'll try. I'm going to try and get you drug court. It's a slim chance, but I'll do it. And he fought for me. And so to this day, I joke with my old PO, and he's like, he fought for you like I've never seen. They saved the court recording so that I could have it as if I wanted to like look back at it because they saved it. Cause he's like, I was amazed. And they didn't go with our probation's recommendation. The judge usually always goes with, no, Judge Barron's is his name. He gave me drug court and went with Andrew Sanderson's recommendation, which was drug court. And I was like, thank God. And then I was like, shit, because I need to do this now or else I'm really going to prison, like for real.
It's crazy how we fight for things like when we're using and stuff like this is it. Like, no. And then it's like, it comes time to do it. And we're like, oh, fuck, man. I got to actually do it. Yeah. Like I used to be the king of half measures.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I can manipulate any situation. I can get through anything. I can convince anyone to do anything. Yes. But then when it actually came time to do it, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. Can't perform now. Don't know what's that. Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah.
Can you take us through your first year of sobriety? How did you stay clean?
Yeah. So, drug court. So I graduated drug court like a whole almost year and a half early, which was insane. And so in the beginning, the first few months, I was like going to meetings that I found, recovery meetings, just doing everything that I'd heard anybody ever say to do when you get clean. Because I'm like, I didn't believe I could do it. Part of me didn't even want to do it. I was just tired. I didn't want to feel any of it. But I'm like, and I had come home to Jay's house. He was the only person that would answer my jail calls. And that's why. And I was like, I need an address. He's like, you can come here. You're not going to get high in my house. First time you do, you're out, whatever. And I did. Cameron was back in jail. And I thank God for that. You know, I wish him well, always will. Don't know what he's doing today, but I do know he was in jail and that helped me because there was no other person that was like toxic for me to go around or go back to.
God did for you what you couldn't do for yourself.
Yep, every time. And so there I was, and I had an ankle monitor on when I first few months.
I can't picture you with an ankle monitor.
Oh yeah, that it wasn't my favorite bracelet. I'll say that. I remember when I got it off, there was tan lines, and I like took a picture, put it on social media.
God.
I'm like, look, I think when that popped up in my memories recently, I deleted it. I was like, I'm ready to let this picture go.
Yeah, we're moving past that.
We're moving past that, but no, I was going to these meetings. I was meeting people. I got a job at the local laundromat tanning salon for like $10 an hour.
Your sober job.
Yep. Yeah. And it was great. It was really great. And in the beginning, it was like a pipe dream. Like I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. Like, I don't even know who I am. I can't tell you. I'm afraid to walk in the grocery store and like get my own groceries. I don't even know what I'm doing. I have no fucking idea. And, I hadn't known who I was as a woman ever I was, a kid. So I'm like, I don't know how to live this life. But I remember the little things like were really special. Like I remember being in nature for the first time in the first few months and just being like, wow, I can smell like the flowers and the grass and stuff. And I'm like, and a lot of the time, the first few months, what got me through was just being like, I'm not in jail. Like I'm not in jail. I'm out here. And like I wanted that, that it was a sort of freedom that for the first time, because I'd gotten out of jail many times, but this time it was just like the cards were set up right for me. You know what I mean?
Gratitude.
Like I was, and my attitude was different. Like or did you say gratitude?
Yeah, but that actually attitude applies to
attitude of gratitude. I mean, it was different. Yeah, I had some gratitude that I was able to muster up. And, so I was attending my drug court, doing all those things, working at this tanning salon. And then about 3 or 4 months in, I started to really just do some work on myself. I wanted to figure out what my problems were. Like, why can't I heal? Like, I wanted to heal, and I'm like, as terrified as I am of what that looks like, it's my only shot that I have at this, and I got to do it. And my parents had, I think, like, here and there talked to me in the first year, but they were very skeptical and they'd seen it a million times. My sister and brother too. My sister and brother were always my biggest fans. My sister, the first month I was out, she brought me like a bunch of her clothes that didn't fit her, a bunch of like, she got me together. She was like, I'm here. You know what I mean? I like him. That's my sister. My brother too, he was, I think, a little more skeptical because he was hurt. He was my like boy when we were kids. So he just didn't want to see me let myself and everybody else down again. Took him a little longer. But about 4 or 5 months clean, I start working on myself, and then I get a job at that first treatment center I ever went to, Parkside. And I just went there and I was like, I want to work in treatment. I want to help people and then hopefully keep helping like myself and, whatever job you can get me, like, I'll take it. They're like, well, we have a third shift tech position. I'm like, oh shit.
Overnight? Is it overnight?
Yeah. Oh my God, it was terrible. I'll never do a third shift again in my whole life. But I
But
did.
what did helping people do for you?
Oh my God. Well, I think we're put here for that. So like everything, it did everything for me. It was like, it taught me I'm not alone, right? Like other people need help. Oh, well, I'm not the only one out here like heartbroken and hurt and, with all of this baggage and shame and guilt and experiences. Like everyone has them. Everyone has them to some capacity, and a lot of people to really dark, heavy capacities. And it opened that for me. It showed me that like, wow, I am so not alone. I can decide that I'm alone, but I'm not, and it gave me it taught me responsibility. It taught me to show up for people. It taught me that my words held weight and value. If I say something to someone, they're listening, sometimes really intently. Like I had, if I talk to other women and tell them something I'm doing and here they are a couple months clean and I'm almost a year, it was like, oh my God, because I'd never looked at it that way. Like, well, I had seen people the times I would try in the past to get sober and I'd see them with a year or 5 years or 10 years. And I'm like, what? This is fake. Like, there's
I used
no
to
way.
think the same way.
Yeah. Like you're fake and you're lying. Like, no, it's not, it's not the case. And so I started to get an understanding of that and what it looked like to it was the most genuine time of my life. It was like the most beautiful thing in the world it was terrifying and beautiful. So I learned all the things. I remember when they took me off drug court, I cried to my PO and he randomly told me, like I showed up for my thing. It was only once monthly at that point. He's like, well, you're getting terminated today. And I'm like, what? He's like,
why?
yeah, he's like, cause you're doing amazing and we don't need you to report anymore. And I cried and I was like, am I going to get high? I remember I asked my dad, I'm like, I'm scared. And my dad was talking to me at that point. He's like, he's like, Alyx, I've never known this person that you are today. And like, now I do. And I'm not worried about her. And I'm like, okay. Like it was heavy. Yeah. It was
That's
huge.
powerful.
It was so powerful. It was so awesome.
What are some tools that you implemented? You went through some heavy trauma and you've had some experiences that most haven't had, but there are people that can relate to the experiences that are, I'm sure, listening now. What are some of the tools that you implemented to get through some of that trauma? Yeah.
So, well, if you were to have like a table of a lot of different tools that people offer in recovery, I probably used all of them at least once or twice, right? The big ones like meetings and things like that, I did those. That was a large chapter. I had spiritual practices. I had to kind of explore that for a while because I didn't know what that looked like for me. I did know that God in my life, I knew that I was watched over and looked out for because there was some brutal, dark moments that like, if I reflected back, I knew that I wouldn't have made it out of. And I also knew that I was like not alone in those moments. But, I did. I think it was just easy to see like, wow, I shouldn't be here. And if it weren't for God of my understanding, I wouldn't be. So that, but the biggest thing that I found in just trying to, I remained a really open kind of a sponge. I guess what I found in navigating like that was one big piece is I just there was nothing I wouldn't try to heal, right? Like I knew that if I'm going to, cause at this point, like I was in it. I'm like, if I'm going to do this then and survive and like be okay and truly live a life that is something I've never known, right? That used to be like this fairy tale in my head, then I've got to do everything I possibly can to like heal and grow. Cause I felt like a very broken person and I was. So I did that. I read a lot. Of just self-help and of stories of like triumph and like overcoming things. Music was a huge tool for me. I listened to a lot of music. I love to sing. It's always been a big thing. So like it was very powerful for me to find music that was like healthy rather than just like trap music I listened to forever. Like I was, and then someone encouraged me. I did the hard work. That's what I want to say is I did the hard work early and fast and it changed my whole life. So the hard work was I'm going to figure out what loving myself looks like. Like I want to know what that is because I think even in just regular life, if people have never experienced drugs, like I don't think it's a common thing that individuals find. I don't think that we just intentionally are like, let me figure out how to love myself really good. Like we don't do that. It's not our nature. We love others, or we love things, or we love goals and ideas that we have for the future, but we don't love ourselves intentionally. And someone early on told me, like, write these affirmations on your mirror, right? Write your own, figure out where you're lacking the most in your soul. Like, what do you really feel about yourself? The ugly, dark things, the painful ones. What do you think about that you can't let go of? What do you think makes your identity? Write them all over your mirror. And I did it. I did that. I wrote them on my mirror and I'd read it every day, and they were painful. And then on the other part of the mirror, I wrote the painful things. The other part of the mirror, I started to write responses to those things, right? Like, what would I say to another person if they told me, because of my abuse, I don't feel like I'm worthy of, another person's love, or because of whatever. And whatever it was, I'm not pretty enough. I'm not funny. I'm not able to be a professional, whatever it was. And I responded to myself on that mirror in ways that I would look at someone else and respond. Because we can so easily look at someone. I can be like, Kevin, you're so good at that. But it's way harder for me to say to myself, right? Or you're so impressive. And like, I'm so proud of the effort you put into this. And I will be the last person I'll say it to will be me. And I worked on that. And the way that I thought and slowly the way that I thought started to change. And then it became natural for me to, like, I wake up and every day I'm like, I've got this. Like, I know I'm gonna, whatever's presented to me today, I'm going to handle it with grace. I'm going to handle it with confidence, with power. Like, I'm going to adopt the mindset that I believe I deserve to have. And it changed my life. It changed everything. And I don't say like I owe it solely my recovery to that, but I will say that's the greatest tool that I've ever had, because it has helped me with anything. It is like, it has given me the gift of a permanent glass half full perspective, right? I look through that glass half full lens versus the alternative always. So in the hardest of moments, for example, I lost my brother, passed away 2020. Most terrible thing I have ever experienced, but especially like sober and like newly into like 2 years in or to recovery. And I lost my brother, and we lost my brother. It was the most painful thing I've ever went through in my whole life. And anyone would have thought, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, like, what happens if you lose Zach? I would have been like, I will be high. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I will be high out of my mind. And I don't know if I'll even make it. Like, it would have, because we were always so close. Even through my shit, us siblings, we were so close. My sister and I to this day, we're still so close. That's his twin. She's my baby. But when that came and I had done all this work on myself, and I thought, and it was so painful. I mean, so it's like, okay, we can stay sober and do these things where it's all like this pink cloud and it's all good and great, and we're looking better, we're feeling better, we're working on ourselves. But then like something tragic happens and it's like, then what? Those are the real tests of all of it, because how do I walk through this? And I remember my thinking was different, right? It was not the little girl who was like broken and out there and needed everyone it was this woman who was able to say, life can be painful. It's not fair. There's nothing or no one to blame. It is that. And I have a choice to either love and move forward and find beauty, or I have a choice to not. You mean I have a choice to not. And what would Zach want me to do? My brother, of course he would want me to like move forward and find beauty. You know what I mean? But even so, like, yeah, I want to move forward and find some beauty in life. And, a lot of profound things came out of that. And I don't think it happened for a reason. I'm not a this happened for a reason person. I'm just not. Sorry to anyone who watches and is. I do think things align how we need them to. Like, I think we will bring into our life what's needed. I think there's all types of goodness at work in our lives that will provide what we need. However, I don't think it's just in a book and says, Zach's going to die at 24, right? I don't think it was written that way. But I think that given the circumstances, I was able to pull a lot of growth and healing out of that situation versus just letting it break me and crumble me. So, but the next several years though, I kept working in recovery, in substance use treatment, did counseling. So at the point that Zach died, I kind of switched from individual counseling, having caseloads and working with individuals. By the way, I wasn't in school. I switched from that to more of a hands-off, like leadership roles, because I needed a little distance between the clients and me, only because every day I was like seeing my brother. I'm like, I want to shake him. I want to shake him and be like, please save your life, and I couldn't do that. And so I had to put a little bit where I can still see him, I can interact, but I don't have to every single day take on all of their emotional stuff. I can pray for them, I can talk to them, and I can also kind of give myself the space that I need. So I took on roles like that. I started school, finished my social work degree last year, and
congratulations.
Thank you. Super cool. Like I have a college degree. Like I don't even use it in my role right now, but it's awesome. I learned a lot.
It's amazing.
I have a son. We know that he's 2, and he's freaking the best thing that ever happened in my whole life. Like it's a wonder to look at a small human and be like, wow, I have a say in how your childhood and your life and all of these things look. And I get to do everything I can to make it like beautiful today. And it's just such a gift and such an honor to like raise him. Another thing is in work. So now I'm for the treatment center I work at now, I'm the director of outreach and admissions. So what that looks like is, we are the front lines of a treatment center. So we see people at their very worst. They come in, my staff is like doing their phone assessment, bringing them in, getting them situated, getting them assigned counselors, all of those things. And then we get to see, it's really cool because we see them then, and then we get to see as they like do better. Our program's a year long, if not longer, 6 to 12 months, sometimes longer. So we see guys and women too. We've got both now that will come out after a year, and it's like, you see it right before you. Like that change is super cool. A lot of us that work there in recovery, so that's helpful because they have this just group of people. Now, that's not to say you can't help someone if you don't have that lived experience, because believe me, a lot of the times I'm like, someone told me, I remember saying in treatment once, like they don't know because they haven't been there. Like she doesn't get it so I don't want her to be my counselor. And they were like, do you want someone that can teach you how to do heroin? Because you already learned how to do that. Or do you want someone that can teach you how to do life without drugs?
Ooh.
And I was like, oh, wow, ouch. Okay, I need some ice for that burn, lady. But it was true. I need to learn. We can learn a lot from people who haven't done what we did. They've got a whole different mindset. So there's benefits to both, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I love that we have a lot of people in recovery that can look at people and say, hey, you're full of shit. Like you can do this. Don't say you can't, because we are. And you know what I mean? We've been there, so you can.
It really comes down to willingness.
It does.
Because when I'm willing and I want to do something, if I've just come off a freaking insane drug run and I'm beat down, I'm willing to do anything.
Yes.
It could be someone who's not even working in a treatment facility giving me life advice on how to stay sober and just be normal. I'll take it. Yeah. It's how willing the patient is.
That's right.
So you today have a very full life. You have a child. I want to commend you because you didn't fall victim to everything you've been through.
Thanks.
You are a success story. What does your day-to-day life today look like?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a little manic, like a little chaotic. Okay. I'm a weird person. I've embraced it. Yeah. It's great. It's wonderful. Like all the weirdos out there. I love you. Like I'm weird. There's different levels of weird. We won't, I digress. But anywho, I'm a little weird. I say the things that people don't say. Like I like to laugh. I find so much value in humor. Because life really boils down to just like the feelings that we have in the relationships. And like, if we can just laugh, love, cry sometimes when we need to, it's like, those are the big things. Yeah. So I work, like I said, I work in substance use treatment and mental health. I help people on a daily basis. That's what I do. I meet other people that help people. That's half of my job, is like going to these other facilities, meeting their programs to see what resources all over Ohio that are available. And then outside of that, I'm with my son. I've got friends that like we get lunch and we do like big girl friendship things. We go to like, the zoo and like different places, just do things with mom friends. We do things with the kids. I spend a lot of time just, the small moments are the good ones for me. So I would love to paint this picture to be like, I do yoga and then I do, I go to whatever on crafting on Tuesdays at 5 and I do like, it doesn't look like that for me. What it looks like is like, I'm just present in my life and, I take it day by day and I put my family first. Like I show up if my parents need me or want me there, I'm there. Same with my sister, my son, I am, I've got him no matter what. And like, that's my everyday. Like, you know what I mean? If it's like when people say Alyx at home, like they probably like, you have this picture of somebody or like their life that like flashes to you, like the first few things you think of. And I would imagine they would think like mom, goofball, professional, and someone that loves people and loves to help people. That's, boring to some, awesome to others. I choose awesome, it can be,
It's crazy. I'm a single dad and, I can
Same,
relate
but
to
not a
some
dad.
of the,
Sorry.
single mom. I can relate to a lot of the things you talked about. And it's like, some people call it boring, but it's not that chaos anymore that we used to live.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten comfortable with, removing myself from that chaotic lifestyle because in the beginning of sobriety, I was like, I miss that shit.
Yes.
I miss it.
No, that's right. You're right, Kevin. Cause it's like, I don't think about that often actually, but you're right. That's what it is. It's the alternative of like, it's like, or the opposite rather. We don't have to, it doesn't sit with us right anymore, that chaos or that back and forth, like busy, this is what's next, this and this. Like, I want to just be, no, you're right. It's a gift just to be present and like, it can be simple.
Mm-hmm.
It can be slow. Sometimes there's excitement, but I think excitement looks different for us today.
Exactly.
Right? Like it's so different than just not knowing what's next or, all of that kind of excitement. Like that's more like adrenaline, I feel like was the chaos back then.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like joy, it's joy is when you have excitement or your energy's like that.
Yeah. Or excitement for me is getting the little one to bed by 8 o'clock.
Oh my God.
Sharp.
Amen.
And having like 2 hours for myself on like YouTube or something like that. That's excitement for me today.
Dude, I'm with you there. I might need some lessons because he stays up late, man. I'm not gonna front like he doesn't, but he's also like, he's like my best friend. Like I'm like, you're chilling with me, so it's fine.
He's adorable.
Thank
you are blessed. You are a
so
great.
much.
I just watched how you were with him. Like you seem like a great mom. And
thank you so much.
And I want to thank you for taking the trip down from Ohio. And coming on and you're so brave for sharing your story and the vulnerability because it's going to help so many people that were in your situation. And you're very brave for doing so. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I think it's, it's not often you get the opportunity to share things, so if it's wanted, if people want you to, why not? I mean, like, I don't think we went through all the things we went through to just hold it and then it be there as like pain in the past. No, it should serve a purpose, right?
Yeah.
How do we like make big movements in the world without sharing those things? How do we change anything? So I'm so happy to be here. We're going to spend a week like chilling. It gives me a reason to have like a good vacation and new friend. And
of course,
it's great.
Thank you so much again for coming on.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.